Hello, it is Simp for Tyree. Now, we're here for another mock draft. It's the first one in a while, my first video in a while. I want to take a second to say why I haven't been uploading, and it's because school just started, and I'm trying to start off strong and have full priority on that. Just a quick little update with that. I do want to get a weekly podcast up, but that's really hard at the moment due to everything going on right now with the start of the school year. And yeah, so let's begin. So the first pick, I'm kind of excited to just be back recording a video, but the first pick we've got an entirely new draft order because the NFL season, and that leaves the Lions picking 1-1. And I'm buying less in the idea that that Rattler should go in this range. If I'm being honest, probably I wouldn't really take any quarterback top or just at the top pick. The drop off from Rattler to the next guy isn't as significant as we thought it was, or at least I thought it was. But now into the year, and so that would lead me to take the best player in the draft, or actually the best player in the draft in my opinion now is Kyle Hamilton, just because I think he legitimately could be the ultimate hybrid of Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor, which, if that doesn't strike fear into you as an offensive coordinator, what will? And Hamilton has zero, and I mean zero, weaknesses. KT, you could pick a little bit of he's a little bit raw, but not at all with Hamilton. He's he might be the best safety prospect ever. He very well could be. So, and I'm going to take him and I'm going to take Thibodeau 1-1 because I will not take a safety 1-1. Oh my fucking god. Alright. Oh my god, what the hell? Alright, but back on track. Now for the Jets. Picking 2 complicates it for me because I'm not as high on Evan Neal as most people. Some people have him as the best player on their board. I disagree pretty strongly. I think Hamilton and Thibodeau are a tier above whoever is after, because those 2 are legitimate generational prospects. Whereas I don't view Neal anywhere close to that. So then for the what am I doing? A little bit rusty if you couldn't tell. But for the Jets, it's complicated because I'm not going to take Hamilton 1-2 because the Jets are fine at safety. That might be their best position on their team. And I don't know if I would take a cornerback too. It's been documented that I don't think Stingley is the greatest cornerback prospect ever, like some people were hailing him out to be. I would say he probably would have been the best last year, but that doesn't mean I would take a corner 1-2. So then you circle back to, do you take Evan Neal? Evan Neal and Becton would be a terrifying tackle duo, just because those are massive humans. It's tough. And I wouldn't take Leal for them because they don't need IDL. If Thibodeau was there, then you would have taken him. But he's not. I guess... I guess I would take Evan Neal. I don't feel like spectacular about it. But not for the Jags. Very often you see Kyle Hamilton here. And my only pushback on that is the Jags have bad safeties, but is safety their biggest need? No. Their biggest need is head coach, but that's not something you can draft. But I would say, personnel-wise, their biggest need is a right tackle. Jawan Taylor, he's the definition of replacement level. And you don't want to trot out that in front of Lawrence. But if you could set up an offensive line with, I kind of like Walker Little. But we could be projecting a line where Walker Little starts at left tackle. He has the potential to be a star. At left guard, you have Andrew Norwell, who's one of the better guards in the league. Brandon Linder, who's one of the better centers in the league. AJ Cann, who's a quality guard. And then you could get... But I just remembered tackle is kind of questionable. In my opinion, if I was taking a tackle here, it would be Charles Cross, who is a lot closer to Evan Neal than people realize or want to admit. But my only question here is, does that mean you're moving Little to right tackle or Cross? Personally, if I was drafting, if I was the Jags, I would move Little if I took Cross. I would keep the higher investment at their best position. But I think my pick is actually going to be DeMarvin Leal. I haven't really mentioned him, but DeMarvin Leal is very J.J. Watt-esque. Like, he can play edge, he can play 3-tech, he can dominate anywhere in the defensive line. And in that scheme, he'll have versatility to play everywhere. It would be a really fun fit. For the Texans here, I like their safety, so I'm not going to take Hamilton. Get Chris Olave out of the top 10, for Christ's sake. I don't really know if that coaching staff will be back next year. If they are, I would actually take Kyrie Elam here, because I think in the scheme they run, he's a better fit than Stingley. So it's kind of rough. Screw it, I'll just go Stingley. If you're a good defensive coordinator, you can find a place to play him where you're not maximizing his weaknesses. For the Bengals here, this is Charles Cross. They need to get another tackle and protect Joe Burrow. Because Riley Reef is not good. It was a terrible signing because it conceded to them that they thought their line was fine, even though it definitely was not. And I feel like they're gonna realize pretty quickly, if they haven't already, they should not be starting Riley Reef. And Jonah Williams has experience at right tackle. You could slide him back there, plug Crossan at left tackle, and suddenly you have a phenomenal tackle duo. Just like that. Overnight, pretty much. For the Falcons here, with the quarterbacks falling, what the hell is this board? But with the quarterbacks falling, I feel like it comes down to Rattler, Corral, and Willis, given what I think of Howell. I feel like if Arthur Smith wants to have like the highest upside in that building, he'll go Malik Willis. And I'm trying to make this a realistic mock, by the way. And I want to say Cross. Oh, I'm gonna say Cross is realistic there because, like, the NFL is going to be high on. I believe the NFL will be high on him, and he's a guy that will rise up everyone's board come draft season. But I want to call back to, in this year's draft process, it was well documented that the Falcons were extremely high on Trey Lance, and if Lance wasn't taken by the Niners, he would have been a Falcon. 100%. So, and you could draw some parallels between Willis and Lance. But, personally, I do not think Willis is better than Rattler. That's the one thing. Can this get off? Okay. You're kind of... Well, I don't think it'll matter whoever they take, because I think either one will be phenomenal for them. So I guess that being said, I'll go Willis. Just because they were extremely high on Trey Lance. And now for the Giants. Ooh, do I take quarterback? That's a good question. Or do you finally give Daniel Jones an offensive line? That's also a big question. If I was going offensive line here, it would probably be... Hold on. Tyler Linderbaum. But I'm not sure about taking a center that high. I think it'd probably be Kenyon Green, but I don't think he's Quentin Nelson. So that complicates things. I guess I would go Tyler Linderbaum. I don't feel great about it, but they desperately need a center. What a gruesome injury Nick Yates had. He's still in the hospital in DC a week later. Come on. Okay. And they thought Billy Price is going to be some savior. Price is one of the biggest busts in NFL history. I don't know what on earth they saw in him. Truly remarkable. And now here for the Eagles, it's Kyle Hamilton, because he just fell into their lap. And now the Giants back up on the board. I think any edge they take here is an awkward fit, so I'm not going to go edge. So, look at the offensive tackles. don't feel great. I guess you could look at quarterbacks. Honestly, kind of screw it. Give Daniel Jones competition. I'm a lot higher on Daniel Jones than most people, but competition brews excellence. So that being said, I'll go Rattler. And now for Washington football team, based on the type of quarterback they need, this is a pretty easy pick for me, and it's Carson Strong. I think he's debatably the best pure pocket passing quarterback since Matt Ryan coming out of Boston College. Carson Strong is Mac Jones if you gave Mac Jones Justin Herbert's arm. So basically, a demigod. Like, the arm talent Carson Strong has in this class, it's probably at the same level as Malik Willis. And now for the Vikings here. It was well documented this year, they wanted Justin Fields. And right here, they can pick between, like, Sam Howell, if you're a Howell guy, or Matt Corral, if you're a Matt Corral guy. But I think because if I'm finding a replacement for Kirk Cousins, I want to get the highest upside possible to develop behind him. And in my opinion, that would be Matt Corral. For the Panthers here, I think Zion Nelson is Austin Jackson. Jackson Kirkland, he had his best game at tackle against Arkansas State last week, but he had been pretty bad before that. Aiden Hutchinson made him his son. And the Panthers, I don't think would be looking at edge. I'm not a Sean Ryan fan. I haven't really watched Trevor Penning. So, where would I be looking? It would have to be at tackle, to be honest. Oof. I don't have whatever you need to do trades on the simulator. So I think I'll go Jackson Kirkland. Fail him at tackle, move him into guard. That's what you'd have to do. For the Colts here, do they go edge? I'd say yeah. They don't really have anyone opposite of Kwity Paye. And Kwity Paye is still not solidified. So this is going to be Aiden Hutchinson. He's just flying up boards right now, and it's kind of good for me to see because I was higher on him than most people, because most people actually didn't have him in the first round. I was consistently mocking him to the Chiefs, where he could plug and play there. But this year, he's taking his game to a new level. Like, he looks like Joey Bosa, and I honestly think that's his ceiling, Joey Bosa. You could be adding Joey Bosa into that Colts defense with DeForest Buckner and Kwity Paye playing on the same defensive line as him. That could take pressure off Kwity Paye to be a number one. You could let him be a number two. Let Buckner be the absolute superstar he is. And then you add in Hutchinson. That has potential to be an elite pass rush. That's just my thinking there. Now, let's look at corners for the Eagles. Ooh, this is Kyer Elam all day. They run a zone-heavy scheme, and in any, like, non-quarters or match zone scheme, give me Kyer Elam in this, of anyone in this class. He has, like, he's Jalen Ramsey-esque. He's just not as fast as Ramsey. But his technique is incredible. For the Chargers here, this is George Karlaftis. I said that his ceiling is Brandon Graham or, like, DeMarcus Lawrence as a true number one pass rusher. And if you add that opposite of Joey Bosa, you don't need, and just adding him across from Joey Bosa, you don't even need him to be a number one. You could let him be your number two, which would be utterly insane. For the Raiders here, they're kind of like breaking out as a team. I don't know how much longer they'll sustain it because they still have talent deficiencies on that roster. But we'll see. I think this is going to be a wide receiver. Or this is definitely going to be a wide receiver. And it's going to be Garrett Wilson. They need to have, like, that skill set. They have Ruggs, their track star. They have Brian Edwards, their possession guy. But they don't have that true dynamic route runner, like a Garrett Wilson. And then for the Patriots here, this is Chris Olave. He's literally the most New England Patriot you'll ever see. The super polished guy who has no, like, significant flaws and is going to be a high-end starter for, like, 10 years or whenever Bill Belichick lets him walk. Which is pretty common. For the Steelers here, I would look at tackle Daniel Falili. I don't know if I would take him round 1. Sean Ryan, I don't know if I would take him round 1. I'll have to look at Penning because you look at that frame and that's a Steelers tackle. I'll just have to find out. So for now, it's going to be a quarterback. With him falling, it's going to be Sam Howell. Big Ben's arm is shot. If you still believe in him, you're just clinging on to the past. He's done. He's washed. Like, watch, there was that one clip of him throwing a 40-yard pass and people saying, "Oh, his arm is back." It was literally the most, or like the weakest 40-yard throw I've ever seen a quarterback attempt. It had zero velocity and hung in the air for like 8 years. Howell's going to come in and continue to let them do what they want to do on offense and add a little bit of a higher ceiling. Make that offense slightly watchable. Fuck. For the Broncos here, hate having so many QBs go. But this is just a super deep QB class. It's tough. Oh my god. And I think this is going to be Desmond Ridder. He's just going to come in and push Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater or whoever the fuck it is. And he's going to add a much higher ceiling. Oh my god. And now for the Saints. This has got to be a wide receiver. DeMarcus Callaway hype has just fallen off a cliff because he's not being used at all. So I guess this is going to be John Mechie. Mechie has tons of straight line speed, is a great route runner, has good hands. Some people absolutely hate him, and I don't get it. He's really good. For the Titans here, this is Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is my tight end 1. And I'm going to explain it real quick. It's because he is an elite athlete at tight end. And I value athleticism number 1 for a tight end. He is like a Kyle Pitts level athlete at tight end. There's so many clips this year of him just hurdling dudes. There are very few athletes at the tight end position like Likely. And he has great hands, great route running. He's developing a ton as a blocker this year. There's nothing you can nitpick about him. He's like a much better prospect than whoever tight end 2 in this draft is. For the Cowboys here, you could look at edge. I do not like Drake Jackson. I do not like Myjai Sanders. This is not a scheme for Adam Anderson. Zack Harrison I've kind of soured on because he has absolutely zero bend. And it's going to restrict him a ton. I don't value bend insanely high, but if you have zero bend, it's going to lower your grade a lot for. And it is for Harrison after I was initially really high on him. But I think you have to look at corner here, and it's going to be Andrew Booth. I'm lower on Booth than most. Some people are putting him in the top 5. He is currently a more athletic Kelvin Joseph. Like, he's an absurd athlete. Don't get me wrong, but he has to completely turn over his hip because his footwork is absolutely awful. But now for the Cardinals. They love their Washington defensive backs, and Trent McDuffie makes a ton of sense for them. He's very good all around. Like, there's no true flaw in his game. He's a very good all-around corner who's a really good athlete and has been phenomenal at UW this year. Him and Kyler Gordon have been insane as a duo on a very lowly UW team. For the Jets here, or Jets back on the clock, I was just talking down on Zack Harrison, but seeing what Robert Saleh has done with a guy like Arik Armstead is gonna make me take Zack Harrison. Arik Armstead has no bend either, and he did really well with Saleh. So you'd basically be plugging Arik Armstead back into that defense. For the Packers here, this has got to be a wide receiver. Treylon Burks is an unbelievable fit. That scheme loves run after catch guys. Treylon Burks is like what A.J. Brown was as like a 19-year-old. In terms of where he is in his development. Just an absolute demon after the catch. Now for the Browns. I could look at IDL. And, this has got to be Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is having an unreal year. Also, watch out for, I want to say it's Jalen Carter. He's a true sophomore. It was when I was initially watching Charles Cross, I noticed him just absolutely dominating people. He's in next year's draft. Just keep an eye out for him. Now for the Ravens here. I think this has got to be like IDL. And I'm super high on Tyler Davis. He'll be a great understudy to Calais Campbell. If Calais Campbell's still there after this year. I think he might be a free agent. But that'll just be a spot for him to step into. Davis is awesome. I'll just say that. For the Bills here, their interior has just gotten demolished. And this is going to be Kenyon Green. Green, I'm not extraordinarily high on. He's like Elijah Vera Tucker. And I wasn't very high on Tucker. But he's a guy who's going to come in and not get lost. He's going to be a steady rock at left guard. Because I don't think he plays that tackle at the next level. For the Dolphins here, why am I on receiver? They do not need receiver. Offensive line. Offensive line. Offensive line. That's how their draft should look this year. Darian Kennard. Boom, you have one starter on that offensive line. Congrats. Now for the Lions here. You could look down the board. Wait, hold on. Aye. Oh my god. You could look at my guy Grayson McCall. But he's more of a patch. He's not the guy who should be going into the Lions, who are like a year or two away at this point. So I would be looking for the Lions at the playmakers. Like, trotting out Kaderil Hodge and Quintez Cephas is not going to work for 17 games. With Cephas there, I wouldn't take London. I'm not certain about Pickens. I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson. He is T.Y. Hilton. Simply put. His speed is extraordinary. And you'll see, like, flashes with his hands. He doesn't have great hands by any means, but he will flash them like Odell Beckham catches. He is super fun. But a team that will be taking Drake London is the Chiefs. He is the picture-perfect complement to a guy like Tyreek Hill as a complete possession receiver. For the Bucks here, let's look at running backs. This is going to be this is going to be Isaiah Spiller. Spiller is probably like the best combination of running and receiving in this draft. He's kind of similar to Travis Etienne. Not very similar, but he's really good. And will be the perfect fit for a running back in that offense. That being said, thanks for watching and see you next time.